Good morning, everybody. Do I need to say anything else? It is finally time to plant the potatoes. So the taters are going in today. I pre-did all of the bed for it, so I'll show you what I did, and then we're gonna get these bad boys in the ground. As far as bed prep, what I did is I went ahead and dug 3 trenches here. I'm gonna do 3 rows, and then this back row will be reserved for our green beans when it's time. And I went ahead and dug them roughly about 3 inches deep or so, maybe 4. And I know it's not deep enough. Kind of got to work with what I got to work with. So I did it that deep so I could get, first of all, I needed to bury my irrigation hose. And then also I wanted to be able to, hill the potatoes as they were growing. So we want to give it enough time and enough space to do that. And also it helps kind of just work that soil up too. This bed was pretty weedy, so it kind of helps with that. So we'll go ahead and get them planted in this bed, and then we have a whole nother bed over here that we're gonna do, but I'm not doing that bed. My son's gonna do it, and he really wants to be on video doing it, so we're gonna do it on video for you. Should be interesting. But let's look at the potatoes and I'll show you what I did to prep them. All right, so these are Yukon Golds that we did, and we went ahead and just cut all the potatoes. And I got them a couple days ago, and then I just kind of left them. I cut them and then laid them out, cut side up, so they would kind of callus over. And they're mostly calloused over. There is a little bit more, but I want to go ahead and get these in the ground. I'm a little anxious, so we're gonna just do them like this. But we went ahead and cut. We had 4 pounds of potatoes that we got, and we just split them all up, and then we'll see how many we can get in. There's gonna be some in here that aren't really good for it, and it'll give us a little bit to play with. Now, if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time this spring or this winter, then you know I had ordered some potatoes. Well, I called them the other day and I was like, look, it's been 80 degrees. Like, when are you gonna ship the potatoes? And they said, we're on back order. And I said, well, when were you gonna let me know? So they were like, well, we'll put it on a rush and then we'll get them out to you. It'll be like 2 weeks before they get them to me. Because they had secretly moved the ship date without notifying me from middle of February all the way to the middle of March. So I wasn't even gonna get them until almost April, which is like a month after I can plant them. So needless to say, I went up to Tractor Supply up the road, and they had seed potatoes, and they're basically ready to go. They were all chitting. So all I had to do was cut them and get them ready. A guy that had come by to get some lettuce from me told me about it, and so I'm super thankful to him, because now we're able to get our potatoes. Now, we couldn't do all the varieties we wanted to do, but I don't care. A potato is a potato in my mind. So we're just gonna get through it. But let's get these planted, and then we'll talk about the differences in what I'm doing different from this year and last year, and how I expect, hopefully, different results. I just took all the potatoes and laid them with the eye facing up. This one's easier to see. And then I spaced them about 1 foot apart. And then what I did for each row is I went kind of diagonal, you can see. So they shouldn't impede each other, and they should give each other plenty of space out there. The thought process is, I've read about a foot, anywhere from 8 inches to 1 foot, but this was 4 pounds of potatoes, and I cut them, most of them in half, some of them in like thirds, and we just barely got it in 3 8-foot rows, so that's 24 row feet. So that's just enough to get through. So we're gonna lightly cover them, and I'll show you what that means in a minute, and then we're gonna come back and then we'll hill them once they start to grow. And we're not really gonna water them for right now, because you don't want to get them waterlogged, right? So we're not expecting a lot of rain. So I was waiting for a cloudy, cool day, which is fairly cool. And then we might get a couple sprinkles or something, but we don't want to keep those potatoes saturated, because then they'll start to rot. We want them to root first. So we'll go ahead and cover them, and then we'll see how much we have left to put on top in the rows when it's done. All right, so everything's covered now. You can see barely that there's a little row here of a little extra dirt that I can use. and then here there's not as much, and then here there's some back up in here. That's gonna pose a little bit of an issue. It'll allow me to hill a little bit. What I think I'm gonna do is, because last year I didn't hill them much, and I got a lot of potatoes, but I just got really small ones. So what I want to do this year is I'll probably get some more soil, and then I can at least get one more hilling out. I'd like to do 2 more. So if I can get some in and then just kind of get some bag soil or some other soil from like the compost company near me, then I can start to build that into it and just add to it and then have it grow that way and then keep mounding. I'd like to get about probably 3 or 4 hillings in on these potatoes. I mean, we're not looking to harvest them probably till about June. So we'll see how that works out. But compared to last year, the big difference is going to be that I am going to continue to hill the potatoes more and more. Now that the spring winds are coming and it's been super crazy windy, and it's going to continue to be windy. But when I put my furrows in and I put the fertilizer down, I did something different than I usually do. When I came back in, and I don't know if you saw me scratch the dirt, scratch it into the dirt a little bit. And what that does is I don't really want the potatoes sitting on the fertilizer, so I just wanted to mix it in a little bit. So we did that. I still used my usual blood meal and then 10-10-10 fertilizer. I actually ran out of blood meal on the back row, so it'll be curious to see if that has any effect on it. But we added the 10-10-10, and then we'll fertilize it again, and probably about a month we'll push some more to it. Not to mention we'll be pushing the fish fertilizer through the injector on the raised bed as well. So the big thing about this in-ground system that I put in, that I was very hesitant to do so, is I can turn off the water on each bed as needed. So like, you don't have to keep potatoes like crazy watered. So I'll keep them a little bit watered, but if something happens, I need to water other beds, I can turn this bed off just right here. So everything else will get watered, all the other beds out here, but this one won't if I do that. So that should work out to my advantage as well. And just help me to eliminate some issues with like potatoes rotting and stuff like that. So we'll see. And I mean, I'm looking at the bed, and I did top it off with some soil, but I was a little bit short. So this will work out great, that I still need to hill it, and I'll add some more soil. And I'll probably get 2 to 3 more bags of soil, probably a bag for each row, I would say. And then I can just hill up around each plant as needed. And it'll work out just fine. And even if I don't hill them, I'll still get potatoes, just probably not as much and probably not as big. But if I'm going to put the effort and the time into this, I'd like to go ahead and get as much as I can, because this bed is being delayed for a later tomato planting because of the potatoes. So I really want to make it worth that delaying. You know, I don't ever count my chickens before the eggs hatch. So we'll see how that works out. As the rest of the garden goes, we're doing great. We've got a lot of things growing. The weather's been very temperate, so it hasn't been really cold, hasn't been super hot, and it'll get warm, but it'll cool off. So we've got some things growing, and I think before we go, we need to harvest some things for dinner tonight, especially for our fish tacos we're gonna have. A brilliant move this year, and I planted cilantro here and here. So again, we weren't doing the full rows at this point, so it's kind of just been a little bit separated and crazy, but I mean, the cilantro is doing amazing. So other than the fact that it's covered in pollen, which I guess, who doesn't need an injection of pure pollen in their meals? So we're gonna get a couple, well, actually we're gonna get more than a couple. We'll just cut off some of the bigger stems. And I mean, part of the reason why I keep harvesting from this bed is because the sun comes from behind it and it shades this. So we're gonna go ahead and just open it up a little bit so we can get more sunlight in. And I mean, I can harvest this bed pretty hard, and then I still have a whole nother one behind it. And I didn't think about this before, and I should have said something, but if you guys are planting potatoes or something, I'm curious what varieties you're doing, because we wanted to do other varieties, and I had some picked out that were like early maturing and faster growing and stuff like that. But we have to do the Yukons, and then we have Kennebec for the back part of the other part of the garden that my son's gonna grow. So let us know in the comments what you're growing as far as potatoes go, or if you've never grown them before, you know, or any experiences you have. These collards here, they're ready to go too. So we need to clear out some space. This plant's been a pretty good producer this year. Its mate didn't make it, but that's okay. And again, we're just kind of clearing out so all of this other stuff can get some sun. You know, we've got all of this Napa cabbage right here. So this will just kind of give it room to grow. And I just make little piles around the garden, and I'll come back and pick it up and I bring it in. So with our fish tacos tonight, we'll do the kale here, and I'll probably shred it and then saute it lightly just to kind of make it a little bit softer, a little bit more palatable. My son kind of gets a little weird about it. Do a little public service announcement for this kale plant. This is like the 8th or 9th time we've harvested off of it. So it's like, you don't need a whole lot in order to, you know, have plenty to eat and grow off of it. So we just keep coming out here and harvesting as much as we can. I mean, we've got a couple more kale plants. We started a whole nother row, and I'm starting to think it was a mistake. Because I mean, look at that. This is 2 weeks since I harvested last time. And so the way we'll do it is we'll harvest this, we'll harvest the collards, we'll do a little bit of mustard, and then we'll just interchangeably eat them throughout the week. Me and my garden, the way I look at it is I kind of lump all greens together in a way. And I know that's sacrilegious for some, but for me, it's like once you saute them down, other than a little bit of texture, maybe a little bit of flavor, depending on how you cook it, there's not a whole lot of difference. So I don't really get overly concerned about it. I mean, obviously cabbage is different and stuff like that, but you know, we'll use the mustard a little bit differently because it has more of a spicy flavor. We let it get spicy. But everything else, we just kind of let it grow, and then we cook it the same, especially the collards and the kale and chard and stuff like that, which I don't think I'm growing chard right now. I've got some seeds going. I don't know if I'm actually going to plant them or not, but you know, even the bok choy, like, it's different, but when it all cooks, it goes down the same way and comes out the same way, if you know what I'm saying. So we just kind of consider it all the same, and it kind of works. And people do prefer some more than the other, but it works out in the long run. Now we go into the greenhouse, and something that I've been waiting to do for a while. I think I'm gonna go ahead and pull one of these rutabagas. Yeah, they're a little bit small, but give it a little shake. It's a little bit small, but it'll do good. This will be, you know, once we mix it with some potatoes or something, this will be a meal. And so we want to start clearing out this area too, because I think we may actually be able to plant a tomato here sooner than I had anticipated. So it's a little small, but we were going to take what we can get, right? I'm going to put some shaved carrots in tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and harvest what little bit of pitiful carrots I got here. You know, it doesn't, you know, when you're shaving them down, I mean, that's actually for the dog. She loves carrots. But we'll go ahead and get what we can. We had a little bit of die off on the tops here for whatever reason. So just go ahead and clear them out a little bit. Nothing major. I think this was actually a snacking carrot that I had accidentally planted. So we are probably going to get a few like this. But I'm down with baby carrots. There you go. That's about the size of a scarlet nana. Is probably maybe a little bit bigger, but that'll be good for tonight. We just go through here, and we're probably just going to start working our way through this little patch, pulling out what we can and enjoying them. I mean, what's the point in growing it if you don't enjoy it? And I want to start clearing this space sooner than later. So we got a little bit of a reprieve from the aphids. We just have like nothing but aphid death at this point. So other than that, like, these are coming back good. So this is the mustard, and what we'll do is we'll wait for it to start bolting, and once it bolts, I don't need any more seeds, so I'll just cut them, and then we'll pull that up. And this is all going to be husk tomatoes when they start to grow, so we'll start removing everything out of here as it gets ready. You know, like now this lettuce is starting to bolt, so we'll probably be eating that too. and we'll have a couple salads, and then just back there. So we'll start clearing all this out, but this will be good for tonight. We'll get a little bit of shaving action going on here. You don't need anything big when you do that, and we'll use a food processor or something. I think my knuckles would hate me if I used a hand shaver for this, or a peeler. So that's not a bad little harvest. Just a couple things to go into the house. Oh, I forgot my rutabaga. So basically, things are coming along. We're starting to get a lot more harvest now that we're getting more sun, just as we anticipated. The sun means everything, so everybody be cool. Check it out. This whole row right here is nothing but kale. I'm probably not gonna be, I bet you we'll harvest all this kale once or twice and then I won't be able to eat anymore. Doesn't take much, but you've seen how we started our potatoes, so I'm looking forward to following that along and see how it goes. Everybody be cool, stay safe, and let us know what potatoes you're trying to grow in your garden this year.
Goodbye.